Okay, hey everyone, I'm Amanda, and this is Wellness Me Up. This is where we talk about the weird, the wise, wildly supportive sides of wellness with coaches that you can actually connect with when you're done pretending that everything is fucking fine in your life. Today, I am joined by David Chamotzky, who is a speaker, an author, a media host, growth coach, a mentor, and a philanthropist. And I asked David to sum up their approach to wellness in just one or two sentences. And here's what they said: self awareness and learning appropriate resources is how you approach wellness. So let's see if what David has to say can get you a little bit more wellness up. And there's David.
Hey, thanks so much. I heard weird and wild, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely in the right place. Let's,
Weird and wild. One of like the fun pictures that you sent to me, and I think I'm going to use it for your cover photo. You're kissing a frog or something. Like something
yeah,
was
yep,
happening, and I'm like,
yep,
I love this. I love doing weird things with statues too. It's so much fun. Yeah, it's hilarious.
yeah. And I mean, even my podcast is called Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat, and I have pictures of me kissing a bat. It's all about peace and love in life. When we align ourselves in a certain way.
I love that you do that. And I love that analogy of the bat. When I first saw the bat, I thought, oh my gosh, we're getting into something with Walking Dead and Lucy. What does he call his bat? Lucy or
Yeah,
Lucille? I'm like,
Lucille. Yeah,
he's
Lucille.
taking a
Yeah,
fucking swing.
I have a
I'm like,
Lucille.
something, I'm like, something's happening. He's taking a swing to something, and I need to know what's happening.
Yeah, no,
They
I
used to
have
call
I have a
me,
Lucille bat. Yeah.
you have the Lucille bat
I
too?
have a Lucille bat. Yeah, I have one with
Oh my
barbed
God.
wire and things like that. But
Oh
I
my
also have
gosh.
two other bats, and the bat is about bringing awesome thoughts and being
Yeah.
authentic, being our true self, and that's really what it's about. It's hitting our sweet spot. And yeah, I come from New York. I sound like a tough guy, but not at all.
Not at all. Oh my gosh. They used to call me Babe Ruth when I played baseball instead of Babe Ruth. So this is
Nice.
hilarious. I love this so much. Okay. So, first question I love to ask on this podcast. There's six areas of wellness that I focus on: spiritual wellness, relationship, emotional, mental health, physical, life transitions, identity, and then financial and purpose wellness. So, really curious, what area do you support people through? And then how do you actually support them on that journey?
Yeah, so basically 6 out of the 7, right? Nobody's perfect anyway. But what I do is the spiritual part, right? We start off. I meet people where they're at, right? That's a catchphrase and things like that. I was a recovery advocate, a recovery coach, and I used to say, whenever the window's open, work can happen, right? In a closed window, no air comes through, and when the window's open, that doesn't mean you're going to change your behaviors, but there's the opportunity for more things to happen. Even if it's open just a little crack, that's all I'm asking you to do. And so we start off there. That's part of that spiritual, right? It gets a little woo woo. Believe me, I had corporate experience in my life, so I understand both ends of those coins, and I embrace both sides of that. So, so I believe that spirituality, all the things that we thought about, when I grow up, I grew up, with a faith that people were like, God's going to do this if you're bad. I'm like, the fearful. But God isn't like that. The universe isn't like that. God is about love, and that's what I love to do is tap into the spiritual. Because that's that peace and love mentality, that philosophy I talk about, that unlimited love that comes into it. And I do believe that there's the 8 ways, or you said 7, of really understanding how we all are healthier, right? By knowing ourselves, by being our most authentic self. I know I have a relationship with God that I believe is really cool because I'm going to tell him when I do something, he knows, right? Universe knows. If you're putting out good energy, you get good energy. It's simple
Mhm.
as that. So that spiritual part, but it's also the focus, the wellness. Now, wellness goes a lot of different ways. I'm a suicide survivor, so my mental wellness, I wasn't working it, right? We all know the things that are going to help us, but the real answer is that we have to work it. Again, even when you pray to God, you got to take action. God's not a genie. It's not like rubbing a bottle. So by doing the work, learning what I had to do, what I wasn't doing well, little self-awareness, right? That's also part of that individuality that we have to, that awareness that we have. And so, all those other parts is how I do it. And what I do now is when you could be your most authentic self, we then talk about what branding is for coaches and executives. I work with a lot of executives, given my corporate experience. So if you're stressed out, there's a lot of ways to reduce those stresses. We'll probably talk later on about touching yourself in a special way. Um, that could go a lot of different ways. But what I mean by that is the havening technique, which helps you overcome some of the challenges that you might have faced, some of the traumas that you experienced in life. So,
Mm.
except for the financial pieces, that's not something that while I can have conversations around it, that's not part of my coaching practice when I do that.
Hmm. Um, I love doing these podcasts so much because my brain just lights up with so many things that you said. And as soon as, like you said, the window was open just a crack, like I felt a breeze come through. And I thought that's sometimes all we need is just a little bit of air and to do to lean into that energy a lot. And there is a lot of self-awareness that comes in our healing journeys and learning that piece. So
100%.
also I want to highlight too that I'm really thankful that you were here
Me
and you're
too.
so
Thank you.
openly talking about suicide because that is a topic that we need to talk about in the wellness space more and more and more and get really direct and clear about it when somebody is having those thoughts. So thank you
Yeah,
for fucking
yeah.
being
All,
here
all, all
and
of my, a
for
lot of
sharing
my
that.
successes that you talked about during the introduction were all
Hmm.
post suicide attempts. You know,
Hmm.
uh, and that's what it is not knowing. I mean, when we can go deeper on that, uh, because it's so important. I was actually told, again, depending on what your spirituality is, I was told when I was in the act, it's not my time, and I have to go back and talk to people about it, tell my story. I've got confused, or my story has grown, not only about the suicide attempt, but now I'm an author, as you mentioned. I've written books. I never thought I'd ever have one book, and now I have multiple books.
That's incredible. Just like I've got goosies thinking about that how successful you've been and how you put that experience to into purpose and to helping other people. And so when people and this happens all the fucking time in wellness, right? Like we get to this spot in our lives and, suicide ideation can start to happen or something else, like we're just falling apart in our jobs, something's falling apart in our relationships, things are not going great for us. And, or maybe sometimes we don't even know what it is that's going on with us. We just feel weird and we feel off and we feel icky in life. And so when someone finds you and they show up and meet you for the first time and they're like, David, I don't even know what it is that I need. I just know something needs to change. How is it that you meet them in those moments in your coaching?
Well, I meet them because I meet them where they're at, right? A lot of times people are going to say, I had a fight with my wife or a divorce or whatever the problem is, right? A team, if you're a leader, when I work with executive coach, this is what the problem is. The problem that they tell us is not always the problem. The problem that we think it is not always the problem. Even suicide, the problem is we want the pain to end. We might not want our lives to end because a lot of people are unsuccessful in doing it. A lot of people, you hear stories about people jumping off a bridge and going, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. And all those things. So we just have to figure out what we're really communicating. And that's one of the healing things that I do is I listen really well. And by hearing the stories, seeing the patterns intuitively. So again, on my spiritual side, there's an intuition. When you ever feel, you said you had some of the feelies when you were hearing something, then that's what it is. It's trusting ourself because the universe and really works for our highest good. And when we can do that and figure out how to get out of our own ways when we need to get out of our own way, we need to learn some things that we hadn't known. Self awareness is one of those things. I was never really taught self awareness. I was just thrown into the deep end and go, hey, everything's wonderful. You're wonderful. You're wonderful. Well, guess what? I'm not wonderful. Or I wasn't. I think I'm wonderful now, but that's a different story. But the really answer goes to you have to learn that. Somebody has to say to you, "Did you see it this way?" And how many of us have been on here? You raise your hand. When you're thinking about it, you've been misunderstood. That's not what I meant, right? Right? Guilty. That's not what I meant. I'm like, could you see it this way? This is how I'm seeing it. That's that conversation that trust that we build. And some things you're not gonna you don't need to win every argument. You don't need to prove yourself as long as you know where you came from. That's why when we go back to spirituality, I break a lot of the laws that I was told. God's gonna this, God's that. I'm like, God, you know who I am. You know where I'm gonna break the law. You know where I'm not gonna break the law, right? My faith is Judaism. I'm gonna eat pork. Like I love my bacon. Maybe less now that I had a heart situation, but I still love my bacon. I just will eat it less because it's not healthy for me. But other than that, that's the part of the things that we just need to realize. So realizing the biggest thing is where meet them where they're at, and people who go, I have nothing to say, and are the people who you just need to figure out the right questions to ask. Everybody has a story. I teach that when I teach people how to speak on stage. Everybody has a story and everybody has worth. Even if you don't want to share your worth with others, you're shy, you're whatever, that's okay. But you have a story and you need to remind yourself who you are.
Hmm. Meeting somebody with where they're at is just so incredibly beautiful to be able to do because so many of us out here just want to be heard. And we do want to talk about things, but it's challenging to even find those words and to feel safe enough to just talk. And this is where I am right now. And this is where the stuff has happened in my life. And I'm trying to make sense of it all. And I don't know where to go from here, right? And just meeting somebody, this is where you are at. Um,
Yeah,
I love that.
there's a power in that. Sometimes the
Hmm.
power is in silence. I'm not great on that, but I'm fluid in holding space for people. So,
Hmm.
somebody just needs me to sit. I've learned how to do that. And there's a healing part in not being by yourself, not being alone.
Hmm. When you are sitting with people and spending time with them and getting to know them, and they're just kind of recognizing where they've been, where they're at now, what is something that starts to propel your clients a little bit forward or just recognize like their wellness realizations or goals that this like oh is there like a shift or a moment that happens for them that they're like holy shit like I'm ready to just move forward now or I get it.
Yeah, it's great. Even when it's virtual, it's that spark. You could see it. And like when I was talking about havening, so havening is a psychosensory touch modality, but there's times when I hear your voice shift. When we're saying a word that you might feel, right? It's your word, it's not my word that I, install or anchor. And I hear the voice shift, and I'm like, gotcha. And it's the same thing when I help people write a book, and they're like, I just want my own book. I just recently ghostwriting with this woman she's like, I'm 75. I need to get my story out. I want to tell my family about it. And she starts telling me her life story, and she tells me about her grandmother and all these like incredible stories, which she was just like, hey, that's my life. And then I go, and then she's telling me that there's a plan of how she's trying to help her granddaughter and get through things. I go, do you see what I just saw? And she goes, what are you talking about? I go, you started the conversation with your great grandmother, then to your grandmother, your mom, and the coming over from Greece and all that stuff, and you're healing your granddaughter. I go, that's generational healing. And I go, tell me I didn't lie. This is your story. I didn't even make it up. And I get chills whenever I hear that because she didn't see it within herself. In fact, there's another person I sat with, and she was like, "Well, this and my husband and it was like she was talking about an uncle who had taken care of her, and was this big strong man. And then we had a different conversation about our husband, big strong man, and I go, oh, so like uncle, uncle whatever his name is. I don't want to give out names, but and she goes, I'm a therapist. How'd you see that? I go, forest from the trees. So sometimes we need those other people to see the value of our story because we just know it's ours, right? It's like grandma's, china that you might hold on to. It looks all scratched up, chipped, and you're like, man, it's a stupid plate. But man, you lose that plate, you're gonna look all over the house for it. You're gonna make sure you have it, and it's grandma's, right? I have a few things in my house. I don't have a lot of things that are mementos, but there's some things I'm like, no, you can bury me with that because it's my great grandmother's and the tie-in to those things. And that's the same thing with our stories. Our stories are exactly like that because when we really look at it, our stories only last 2 generations. You might talk about your parents and maybe your grandparents. You might not get the chance to talk about your great grandparents. And that's why we all need books, right? Our legacy die, and that's one of those things that when we talk about suicide, one of the organizations I support is the Joseph P. Faber Memorial. And one of the people who run that, is my friend Mike. We've become friends, and he goes, not on my watch. He goes, because the people who attempt suicide and are successful, it's a very small amount of people percentage wise, but then their legacy, right? Families might not talk about, this one or that one. Oh, we can't talk about that. That happened. Their legacies die. And that's not what we want. We want their legacies to live. We want all of our legacies to live. I want my great, 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 great grandchildren to say, hey, he was weird and wild, but guess what? He lived fully and learned how to do some things. And they'll have stories that I wrote. And they'll be like, man, I wish I could get to talk to him because of those stories. Like, where did he come up with it? That's a wacky story. Peace, love, and bring a bat. What the hell is he talking about?
Stories are such a channel, right? That people
Yep.
can just feel connected to you and read. Sometimes people that have left my life are gone. Like I'll go back through and read a text message or something like that from them. And it just reactivates that in me and I can feel that energy again.
Yeah.
Or I will, like right now, I'm clearing out my storage unit because I've gone full out digital nomad. And there's certain belongings I have that even though these people are no longer in my life, I'm like, I'm not done with this yet. I don't know if this is have has left my story yet because it's something I remember from them. And it's something that brought laughter to my life. It's something that brought good to my life. And I thought, I'm not done with this in my story yet, or am I done with this? But it just helps connect, right? And even a story, I have a novel written by a friend, and I'm like, I'm not getting rid of that. That's something that like that she has. And when if she, goes, I want that. I want that to feel connected with her. So this is why you do what you do. Um,
Yeah, and I learned even a lesson. So, because I do a lot of philanthropy, so I know how to eat an elephant. I know how to help people go through some grief and get rid of things. And I once said that to my friend. I was like, "Don't worry, I got it. I'll get rid of it." And she goes, "No, no, no. It's not. It's those things that you said about holding on. I now say when I say it, I now make sure that the other place that's going to receive your items or the stories are received with love because we want to tell our story. So when I'm writing a book and I might be in a dark place in just not feeling well, right? It's not life, sometimes life's. And I now turn it into a story that then other people can have joy about it. It's not just living in the darkness, living with that. I'm passing on that energy to others out there. And that's why like podcasts like yours just brings up people, right? It's wellness me up. You got to get up and get that level when you can't, when you're stuck. What do you have to do? You have to walk. You have to take those actions that we talked about earlier.
yeah, you have to get up, right? David, when you're working with your clients, what are they most surprised by after with working with you? Like what just drops their jaw? Like there must be moments with them because I'm already like, I love how he's framing this or putting this. What comes up as a theme that you notice that people are surprised about when they work with you?
Why I laughed is so many people after meeting me, so I give everybody an hour like to get to know me and see if you like my wackiness, which is okay, or goofiness is a different story. But they go, "You really know some stuff." I go, "Yeah," and part of the reason why I do what I do, there are so many coaches out there that aren't able to do what they do, but they say that they are. And I've seen that. I've been there. I've lost money to people who promised me the world and didn't even promise. I didn't even get a can of soda out of it. So I integrity is so important to me, and that's while I'm a flawed individual, I am what I am, and I'm willing to stand on the things I've done wrong as well as the successes that I've had, and that's what people go. You really are the same person on this podcast. You met me outside. Yeah, I might be a little wackier because we're just sitting down, but other than that, I mean, you really probably can't. Well, maybe you can see a little bit. I have a mullet also, so it's not like that I'm, straight and narrow. But I also have 30 years of very high experience in corporate America. So it, you know, bringing all of those things, everybody wants to get the best quality. Well, I worked for Pfizer. I worked for one of the top 50 law firms in the world, and guess what? I learned experience. That was 30 years of learning. Plus, I also dove in to my wellness journey. I taught myself things. I learned. I got through the right training. So when I use that, people are like, man, you just see things differently. That's how I help people write the books. And with the tools of healing, I'm able to get through it quicker because I've seen that. It's again, I'm not Sigmund Freud, but I have some magic, you know, skills.
Hmm. Well, and I think that goes back to how you summed up your wellness, right? Like what people can do with wellness is that you have that self-awareness. You've got 30 years, you've applied that to yourself. You've learned to take accountability, have awareness, learn what's going on with your life, and you're learning really appropriate resources, which is what you said earlier too, right? So if you can accumulate these things and then share them with other people, this is,
Yeah.
like it's really surprising to say like, wow, you do know a lot of shit. Like you know a lot of shit about a lot of things.
Yeah, a
So
lot of people don't, right? So a lot of people
yeah.
do their 9 to 5s, whatever that job is, and
Hmm.
don't embrace their spirituality, right? It's a lot of woo woo stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
even when I learned havening, it was because I went to therapy, and the guy said, "Hey, I'm going to teach you. You got to rub your hands, and you got." I'm like, "What the?
Hmm.
No, really? What the hell you're doing?" And I did it, and it started making me feel better. And that therapist had been in business for 30 years. He goes, I can count on one hand how many people I've met that are like you because not only did you work during the session, you worked when you got home. Like, I go, yeah, it's called living, right? Shit's going to happen, man. I mean, you know, every day's not, lollipops and unicorns. I can't be like, oh, I got a problem. Let me call Bill. I'm like, no, you have to learn how to manage life, how to get that balance that takes it to the next level.
Speaking of lollipops and unicorns, because every day is not going to be sunshine and rainbows and with the lollipops and unicorns and all that. Life is going to happen. Life is
Man,
going to life.
I didn't
It
know
is
that.
going to life. There's shit that's going to happen all the time.
100%.
And we can't predict, we can have our days and what we think is structure and what we're going to do, but we don't know what's actually going to happen and what life is going to throw at us with each
Mhm.
day. And so this part of the podcast, I actually love spinning a WTF wheel because I call it wellness isn't linear. What the fuck? Wheel.
Yeah.
Because I like to keep things random, absurd, and human because that's how life is. And so I spin this wheel and full disclosure, I use my robot assistants, ChatGPT or Claude, to come up with the questions for us because
You
we're in
use your
an
resources,
AI
right? You use
like
your
world.
resources. I don't care what your
Use the
resources are.
resources, right? So these robots are out here, and a lot of people are using their robots to help them with coaching and therapy and doing these things. And I'm like, but really, can a
And that's why
robot
they're
answer
fail
these
right.
questions?
Right. And that's why they're failing. They're not asking the right questions. So when you go
That's
back
right.
to that question on what how do I help people? I ask the right questions. And sometimes I don't ask,
Right.
I have a list of questions, so I've created, honed it in over the years, but sometimes I'll ask the wrong
Mm-hmm.
question. You walk
Right.
into a landmine, you walk into a dog poo, I mean, that's really what it
That's
comes down to.
we don't know what's gonna happen. We could end up talking about dog poo right now. Actually, when you like one of the pictures that you have is this, I don't know why this is popping in my brain, so I'm just gonna say it. But one of the pictures that you gave to me was you kissing a frog statue, and now
Yep.
I'm thinking of poo because I'm thinking, does everybody know that there's a statue, a fountain of poo in Chicago? Like that's a thing. Like I don't
I didn't
even know
know
why
that.
that's popping in my
I've been to
brain, but that's what happens.
I've been to Chicago a couple of them. I didn't
Yeah,
know that there was.
there's a statue of Pooh.
I would have.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you the
Yeah.
link and be like, you can go see a statue of Pooh there. It's very interesting. When my friends and I travel, what we do is we all pick something we want to go and see. So I research the most ridiculous thing in that place and go to see that. So you're welcome for that
I,
because yeah, we don't know
yeah.
what's gonna happen. We can step in Pooh or we could go see a statue of Pooh. We don't know what's gonna happen. And that's what I do with this wheel. I spin it and I let the robots decide what we're going to talk about. And it
You
could
got it.
be something extremely profound and deep, like what we've already been talking about, or we could be talking about poo. I have no idea what's going to happen. But let me go ahead. I'm going to share screen and you can tell me if you see this thing. Let me see here. Let me go to this. Let me know that you can see this wheel of that's on picker wheel. You can see
I
it?
do see the wheel.
All right, let's spin this and see what that we want to talk about. This is what the robots think that we should talk about when it comes to wellness. And sometimes they're ridiculous questions. Fun music, isn't it? Yeah, it's good. Okay, what's it gonna say?
What's
Oh, is
something
it
you
stuck?
used to, Jay?
Oh my gosh, the
What is?
wheel's stuck. There it is. Oh, there it is.
Oh,
Okay, what's something you used to judge people for that you totally get now? What is something that you used to judge people for that you totally get now?
I never judged anybody. No, that wouldn't be true. But we used to. I used to judge people because I knew the answers. I felt I knew all the answers. Amanda, why are you wearing a tank top? I hate tank tops. No, right? So I'm judging. I'm not judging. I now wear tank tops. But but the idea is we judge because we're also it's fearful within ourselves. I recognize now a lot of my reactions are defense mechanisms, and I try not to judge now. I mean, if you walk in, I mean, hey, look, one of my friends, the gentleman who helps run the suicide, like Mike walked over. I don't know if anybody who knows Mike Faber, if you ever seen a picture of him, he looks like a hillbilly. And you walked, I had walked over. I was at a speaking gig, and all these other people are trying to pitch me to be in their clubs and this and that. Mike walks over, and I'm like, here's another guy who wants me. You want to know? Mike is one of my best friends. Mike is a brother from another mother, truthfully, and I judged him at the beginning, and he knows it. He gives me a hard time, and that's that family that we build. He's like, yeah, the dude stood around for for a year, wouldn't even talk to me, and then he comes in and joins, my club, the Unleashed You, and which is amazing. So anybody who's looking for a place, is a little shout out to Mike Faber and the Unleash You, the blue and green. Um, but we do judge. So even while I'm more healed now, so today, so that was like 5 years ago. Um, Today, I definitely judge a lot less because I've heard also a lot more stories. Because no matter who you are, it's not about all the them, right? The them becomes us at some point, or somebody that we know, right? Those people are horrible. They do this. They're doing things that are unhealthy, and they know the consequences until it happens to us, right? I shared with you earlier. I had a heart situation 3 months ago, and right, I knew Big Macs and ice cream every night. Yeah, that's not healthy, guys. No deal breaker right there. I thought I was going to be different. I was good, man. My cholesterol was fine. All those things were right where they were supposed to be, except for two arteries that were 98% blocked. Guess what? Not so good. Now, since that, again, I was in the hospital and the doctors judged me because they said, you got to change your diet. And I go, done. And that's exactly the same face that I just gave you, done. Now I've gone back to them for the checkups and they're like, man, you reduced 18 pounds in less than 3 months, and your cholesterol levels are right where they're supposed to be. Well, they're still a little higher than that stupid number. Like I worked with Lipitor, so the old numbers used to be 90. That's where my cholesterol is now. They want you now at 50. I'm like, no, I don't want to be on medicine. That's a personal choice, but it's in good condition. My blood pressure is crazy good. I'm taking care of myself. I'm in better shape now, even though I gained a couple of pounds because pounds don't matter. It's the metrics. Man, I am cut now. I'm almost getting to be where I'm at. I still got work to do, but that's what it is. So, while people judge us, I've learned, man, don't judge anybody. Let them show me. And that's what I do is when like that doctor who's like, you got to change your diet. No, really, you got to change your diet. Like it's done. And he was judging me because of many of the patients he saw. And I was like, no, it's done. I've already made that mental shift to take myself into that new level.
Yeah, you've taken accountability for that stuff, right? Like I
100%. I own my
one
level of stupid. Yeah,
like
yeah,
fucking high five to like literally getting that the heart attack dealt with and the heart issues and all those
yeah.
things so good,
Now,
and then taking
luckily,
the accountability,
yeah,
like you're like,
luckily
yeah,
I
no
didn't have a heart
problem,
attack.
I can do this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
luckily I never had that. My heart was good. I mean, the ironic
yeah.
people would always say, "Dave, man, you're all heart," and I really
Hmm.
am. But part of it was not so good. The rest of it
Yeah,
is strong. I'm working out.
yeah,
I'm doing the things I need to do. So we have to always look for those resources, and sometimes we need that information. We need, But I also love when people judge me. After my suicide attempt,
yeah.
this woman came over to me, called me a white trash, called me a mental case, all those things, and that's okay. That's her judgment. That's her vision. But my vision was being a TEDx speaker. My vision was writing all these books. My vision is having a top 1% podcast. Guess what? I still might be a mental case. I still might be white trash. Whatever you want to call me, that's not what I believe for myself. Those aren't labels that I allow people to call me.
Yeah, that's
And
not your perceived experience at all. Like that's
no,
their perception, their judgments, those things, but that's not who you are.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why I don't
Hmm.
judge anybody. I don't care what you look like. One of the best friends I
Hmm.
have looks like a hillbilly. He lives in Delaware, and you'd look at him and be like, dude, yeah, stay away from that dude. But I got to tell you, I love giving that guy a hug. I love being around him, and all the other people as part of that community. This community is so important, and don't judge anybody because you don't know their story and you don't know where they're at.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. You don't know where they're at, and you're making a lot of assumptions on on what you've wherever that's come from for you. So yeah, work on that. Right?
100%.
Uh, so the last, and you've already mentioned this, the podcast title, but one of the questions, like the question that I love to end this podcast with, is I ask the question, what does wellness me up mean to you in your own words?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. What wellness means is that it's freedom. So I get to make those choices. I get to know the consequences. Again, the Big Macs, right? But wellness means that I can handle everything. So for me, mental wellness is very important, and that's why people you get pitched all the time. Now, I can help you with your clarity, your this. I'm like, you don't know me. No, you don't. And I can help you with your mindset. I'm like, there is nobody. Not that I'm perfect, there's not many coaches that are going to be chasing after me to teach me about mindset. I've overcome suicide. I've overcome survivor guilt I've overcome stuff. And when I set my mind to it, it does. So wellness means to me is living my best life, hitting that sweet spot that I talk about is just doing everything that I can for the greater good. And that's when I work with my clients. I want them to have what means for them. As long as they're not hurting anybody, man, go do that. And that's what wellness means. And the freedom really is about. I know when I know when I close my eyes at night that I have an expectation to be there in the morning. And that's because I'm well mentally. I want to get up in the morning and physically because I've already done some of the work. And when it's my time to close my eyes and not open up, I'll know that I'm well and kind of whatever happens, happens.
I love that. Time to get your ass up and just experience freedom,
Yep.
pretty much. Yeah, I love that so much. Um, David, I am so grateful that you're here today.
I
When
love it, man.
people
Thank you.
hear this, they're going to want to be like, how do I get in touch with David to just listen to him and his experiences, learn from him? I want to have my surprise moments and have those aha moments with him. How do they get in touch with you to work with you?
The greatest thing is that last name, Chamotzky. There aren't too many of us, and there's no other David Chamotzky in the world. I'm unique. Um, so on social media, my website is David Chamotzky. What else would it be? And really think about the guy with the bat, the teal guy with the weird glasses, the mullet, and that's I get I haven't tried that. I got to try that weird guy, mullet, glasses, and bring a bat. See what happens on Google. There's a lot of you do a Google search on me. People are like, man, there's so much out there for you. I was like, long as it's not a wanted dead or alive, we're good. But there's a lot of information that that I'd love to talk to people about on branding, if that's what they need, that alignment, because it's all about alignment. When you're your most authentic self, it all falls together.
I want to come out with the baseball bat. You've got your aqua glasses. I want a red one with my red glasses. That'd be so much
We
fun. We can go
we can
smash
do
some
that. So
balls.
part of when I do corporate events and other events is I bring a baseball batting net, and you hit. That's how you hit your sweet spot. So you play ball. You explained to me, so when you hit that, when you did the best that you could do, that's what the sweet spot is. Is if I did the best I could do, it doesn't mean the results were what I wanted, but if there's nothing better I could do, it doesn't matter. And there's so many, it's like board breaking. It's when you did it, you can overcome something and you can knock it out of the park. It brings you back to a touchstone. So let's make an event. Let's go.
Let's
You
do
know,
it.
Med?
Let's go smash the balls.
Yep.
Let's hit it. Let's hit the balls, right?
Yep. Yep.
I always know if I hit end record, there's going to be something that you're like, oh, fuck, maybe I should have said that too or brought that up. So if there's anything else that you want to leave with the listeners, go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So it's not just the wellness. You want to write a book. I do ghostwriting, so you get to still write a book. We do some interview process, and there's a whole bunch of ways that I can help you. Think about work, for those who've never experienced corporate America and the upper echelons of companies, that are the Fortune 50 companies. I've worked with them, they've been clients, and you get that for, Main Street. I'm not looking for Wall Street. While I have clients that do that, I want to help people on Main Street. And that's what it is. Just meet me for an hour, and it's free, it's online. Go
Mhm.
for it.
That's incredible. You offer like a charcuterie of different things. I absolutely love
Yep.
this, and I'm so grateful to know you and be in your orbit now. Thank you very much, David,
Well,
for
thank
being
you. I
here
had a great
today.
time. I had a wonderful time.
So good. Okay, everyone, here's to getting a little bit more wellness up one episode at a time. We are going to catch you next time.